Welcome to Truly Terrified, Paranormal versus Physics, where we talk about some really weird stuff and Joe the scientist explains how it's not possible, or maybe it is. I'm Lynn and...
I'm Joe.
Jean Gittens, who lived in Leeds in England, was in the middle of an exhausting labor with her son, Thomas. She was given gas to relieve some of her pain, and that's a common practice in England.
Gas, like laughing gas?
Yes.
That is,
Actually, they call it gas and air.
nitrous oxide.
So they mix it and...
Yeah.
And they give you a little thing and you
That's
put it...
crazy.
You put it in your mouth and then you can just adjust how much you want. And I've seen videos of women that are their eyes are rolling back in their head and shit.
You bite it and it squirts more nitrous oxide
I don't think
in
you
your mouth?
bite it, but I think they put it in their mouth and they bite it and then they must have some kind of other control.
That is nuts.
I think it's nuts. They say it doesn't hurt the baby. But in any case...
It might hurt the mother. I mean, she's totally out of it.
It doesn't seem like it's a very good thing. But anyway, that's what they do there. And in some places in the United States, they do that too. And so after she was inhaling the gas, she said she became detached from the events around her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. She was stoned on laughing gas.
Yeah.
And then she saw a tunnel through which she appeared to be rushing. When the room appeared again, she was surprised to find herself looking down from the ceiling onto the heads of the doctors and nurses. She saw the whole room in general and noticed some things in great detail, such as the doctor's hair being gray in places, and the roots of the blonde nurse's hair showing the telltale black of their original color. The experience was accompanied by a tremendous sense of well-being. This is not unlike a near-death experience.
Yeah.
They're rushing through a tunnel. You're up on the ceiling looking down. You know, that's was my impression of what she had to say. So was it a hallucination caused by the gas? Was it...
Yeah, so...
Yeah, what was it?
So if you're taking you're assuming it's a modern, conventional, physical... There's an explanation in the physical universe, you know. No exotic stuff. Then it's probably a combination of things. These kind of things, it's not like there's a formula. They really depend on individual people and their brains.
Individual situation.
And what's going on in their heads, what they've consumed.
Right.
You know.
What we're talking about today is astral projection or out-of-body experiences. So that lady felt that she had an out-of-body experience. And some people would call that an astral projection. She astrally projected herself up near the ceiling where she was looking down.
Yeah. And it sounds like astral projection is specifically the intentional use of out-of-body experiences.
Yes. Later on in this episode, we're going to share our own experiences with astral projection. A man named James told this story. He said he's had many experiences with astral projection. Last winter, where he was, wherever that is, didn't have much snow, so he decided to go for a walk outside, and there was no snow. Mm-hmm. While walking, he let his mind wander, and suddenly he was walking in knee-deep snow. He believes that was a case of astral projection. That doesn't sound like a case of astral projection to me.
Meaning he lost time?
I don't know what he did. He lost something. He lost his mind. I don't know.
Marbles.
That he went out there and
well, you know what? You've lost your mind if you live somewhere where there's deep snow. So
another person said they experienced being in other bodies, going through walls, euphoria and vibrations while conscious in a lucid dream, remote viewing without feeling, and saw multiple circles of light.
What's the feeling of being in someone else's body? Was that in a dream? Or in...
I don't know. They said they experienced being in other bodies. And I'm assuming while in those other bodies, or maybe not. Maybe they were in other bodies and they went through walls and they were euphoric and they felt vibrations and all of it, they were conscious.
Well, okay. So as far as I understand, the modern usage of the term astral projection is specifically when they're doing it at night or they're laying down. I don't want to say they're asleep. Their body apparently is asleep, but they are laying down, usually intending to do this, and then they perceive themselves going into a completely different type of environment.
Yeah.
So there is, supposedly, like the Wikipedia article for Astral Projection goes through it better than I could, but historically, there's accounts, mainly religious accounts, of people going into a different type of body. They all call them different things. I think ethereal or non-corporeal body is sometimes
Yeah, I've heard
used.
that. Uh-huh.
And they do various things. Like in Egypt, the kind of more or less famous example is someone turning into like an eagle, or like a whatever kind of mythological spiritual
Well, that
creature.
just sounds like lucid dreaming.
Yeah, or so Native Americans literally turning into eagle, that kind of thing. At some point, divinity, so that's things related to God and God's area, being, whatever, became sort of morphed with the unseen aspects of physics, like energy, waves vibrating, those sorts of things. Those are real things in physics. You can measure them, but the terminology became kind of muddled between those two conceptual domains. So you have like astral, ethereal bodies that have their own kind of behaviors and functionalities. So there's the historical usage and then the modern usage. Modern, like mostly when you hear someone talking about astral projection now, they're laying down, they appear to be asleep to someone else, and they're having this experience. However, people supposedly, whatever, people can do it. They'll be like walking around and have an out-of-body experience, and it's some sort of astral connection,
So,
ethereal,
so do you think
non-corporeal stuff.
Do you think they're having the same experience that so many of us have when you're on a long, boring drive and your mind
Like
kind of
highway
wanders?
hypnosis.
Yes. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I'm home, and you don't remember the trip home?
Well, okay, so again, using like a conventional, modern physicalist, it's all hardware kind of stuff, kind of interpretation. There's multiple areas in your brain that are responsible for which, when they go a little haywire or a little off, responsible for a lot of different overlapping qualities with out-of-body experiences, astral projection, whatever. For instance, if you electrically stimulate a part of someone's brain, they have a feeling of being in a different place. If you also stimulate a part of their brain related to vision, they might see something. Those two things happening simultaneously, they feel like they're in a different place, seeing something.
Okay, that still does not explain, though, why some of these people, and not people who are walking and all of a sudden they're walking in snow. Because if it had been an out-of-body experience, he would have said, and then I realized I was in another city. And that's not what he said. He just said he was walking in snow. He's in his neighborhood. So obviously there's something else going on there with him. I don't know what. The lady having the baby, she had a substance in her body which could cause her to hallucinate.
Yeah.
However, she confirmed that the doctor had gray hair in areas on his head.
Yeah.
And the nurse had black roots. So that's pretty interesting, which isn't really following that it's just what's really here, and that you're perceiving it differently because you're stimulating a different part of your brain.
So I should say, with regard to the drug thing, like Native Americans would consume things and have out-of-body experiences. So it's a spiritual aspect taken care of. And modern people who use drugs, recreational drugs or medicinal drugs, super common for them to have out-of-body experiences. And if they use those things intentionally to specifically go to those perceived places, they are astral projecting. You know, as much as we can say anything's astral projection, that is also astral projection. So the lady, like,
so it would still
clamping
be
down, sucking hard on the thing. She is flying around in, you know, in what appears to be a dream state. That's like a form of astral projection.
All right. Before we go any further, I'm going to give a little bit of history on it. You can interject if I get something wrong or if you have more information about anything in particular. So the term astral projection refers to an intentional out-of-body experience, like you said. It assumes the existence of a subtle body known as the astral body or the body of light, through which consciousness can function separately from your physical body and travel through the astral plane. That is your favorite phrase of all.
Now you know where I got it.
Yeah. The idea of astral travel is ancient and occurs in multiple cultures. It was coined and promoted, the term astral projection was coined and promoted by 19th century theosophists. And it's
you can see then there's the connection. Divinity is swinging towards physics.
So now it's starting to do that. And it is sometimes associated with dreams and forms of meditation. Some people have reported perceptions similar to descriptions of astral projection that were induced through hallucinogenic drugs.
Yeah, sometimes
or
intentional.
Self-hypnosis. Okay,
so
we know what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody believing that their consciousness is leaving their physical body and going somewhere else.
Which might be near them.
Yes.
It might be just like
in
the immediate
up in the corner of the room, or, you know, whatever. Or it might be on the other side of the world, or it might be in a snowstorm.
Or completely like different dimension. It usually has qualities of the physical universe.
Right.
But
okay, so by going by this, it doesn't matter if you took an hallucinogenic drug. It doesn't matter if it's through self-hypnosis. So it wouldn't matter if it was through mental illness either.
Yeah, so that it does kind of bring up, good question, what are the extents of what is actually the astral realm and what aren't? You know what I mean? Like, for instance, there's people who take some of the more hardcore hallucinogens, psychedelics. They'll describe consistently going to a like a realm of existence that's totally different than the usual physical stuff. Yeah, it's not like you're flying around. You're an eagle. Oh, look, you know, and
you're looking down on your hometown.
Yeah, it's like nothing applies.
Right.
So is that the astral realm? And if you're schizophrenic and you have an out-of-body experience due to schizophrenia, and you see like the CIA or demons or something trying to get you, is
the CIA or demons? The CIA or demons? I think that, you know,
that's something they would say, you know.
Okay, disclaimer here. We're going to do a disclaimer. There is no scientific evidence that there is a consciousness whose embodied functions are separate from normal brain activity, or that you can consciously leave your body and make observations of the physical universe.
Yeah, so there's no mechanism predictable by modern anything, modern science. And that means no one has successfully, consistently developed a technique to successfully and consistently produce these effects that isn't just explainable by this is just your brain doing stuff.
So I do think that there should be some riders for the term astral projection, and in my mind they are: is it verifiable? Can you verify through some other means that you were somewhere else than where your body is? You know, the lady said she was up in the corner of the room and she saw things from a different perspective.
On the Wikipedia article that mentioned a long-running experiment where the researchers would you've heard of this before, I think. They put a picture or something where the patients couldn't see, and then just waited for people to have near-death experiences where they went out of their body. and nobody reported seeing the thing. Some of them reported seeing other details, but none of them reported seeing the little card or whatever. I do remember a long time ago hearing of a study where they had lucid dreamers look at a target.
Oh, I think I heard about this.
I can't remember. I think they had positive results, but it was like you could actually plausibly see the target.
Well, one thing I think intrigues me about that idea is that if it's anywhere in the vicinity where the person is,
mm-hmm.
like if you're in an operating room and a person is being operated on, and so they put this picture up in the corner
mm-hmm.
of the room, you don't know the range of someone's sight. You don't
mm-hmm.
know, a reflection in a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And people pick up things that they don't even realize they're picking up.
So if you want to go to like exotic explanations, you have on one hand, they can like astral project out of their body. On the other hand, you have, in certain situations, you have super sight. Those are
right.
Certain people believe both of those. So it's not just like some exotic explanation explains it, like a regular explanation. They can see in a reflective thing,
uh-huh.
a piece of metal or something could explain it.
And they would be completely unaware that they had actually done that.
The typical procedure is you think, this could explain this thing that I don't know anything about. You try to rule out that explanation. And if you can't, and you can use it to predict things about the thing, then it's pretty good. I mean, that's good. It's useful. It's
mm-hmm.
a good explanation. So, like, there's the people, can they see the target from where they are, like, with their eyes half open? Is there a reflecting metal piece? There is. Then that's probably a good explanation.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no reflective anythings and they couldn't see the target when they were reeled in, that's not a really good explanation.
Well, a good experiment would be this. Apparently there are many, many people, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that practice astral projection on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Whether or not what they think they've experienced is even by the classic definition of astral projection.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's true, they think they are. So there's a big enough group of people that you could say, okay, you go someplace else and tell what, kind of like geocaching.
Mm-hmm.
We have hidden something.
Yeah, you go find it.
You go find it.
Similar like challenge to clairvoyancy. Now there is a unique challenge for astral projectors. Or I have to say, this is the elephant in the room. My own personal belief is astral projection is lucid dreaming. So I just have to get that out of the way. The lucid dreamers probably could interact with astral projectors in the astral realm because they're lucid dreaming. They're all lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. Anyway, I've heard of cases where people wanted to meet up in the quote-unquote astral realms or lucid dreaming land or whatever. And so they did. And they had some
interaction.
They had some consistent interaction. I forgot, I probably wouldn't have been able to find it, but I didn't think to look it up for now. So I don't really know. I can't really say definitively if I remember. It was like plausible that they exchanged information through the astral realm.
Well, that's interesting. Now, here's kind of my take on it.
I have to say, like, clairvoyants can't do that. No other, like, exotic kind of practice can do that.
Clairvoyants can do it.
Well, I mean, it's a unique situation
for two people to say we're interacting.
Well, specifically, they're both going to a place that doesn't exist, doing things together, and then reappearing back in their body. That's like unique to
so
this realm of...
This is what I think of when I've read about it, when I've thought about it, because I totally believe in ESP.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there are clairvoyants. I believe there are psychics. Isn't it possible that they're just communicating or whatever in the same space that psychics can pick up something, clairvoyants
there
can
you
pick
have
up
the
something?
overlap again. Like, for instance, if astral projection isn't possible, that's not a thing, but clairvoyance and telepathy is, so that means communication via thoughts and remote, like viewing, whatever kind of stuff, then you could just be having a dream, be using those same abilities to communicate.
Right. Okay.
Is that the same thing?
Well, I don't know. But astral projection, I think you would have to verify that you went somewhere by seeing something and not a picture on the wall in the room where you are, and or the top of someone's head, because you could have picked that up without even realizing it. And it has to edify you in some way. It has to, give you something back in some way.
So, like I had said earlier, a good model is one that allows you to predict things, and you just can't rule it out. So if you do experiments, you can't rule that out as a possible explanation, and you can use it to predict things. Like, for instance, if I say, yeah, I really wish I had the combination of that bank vault so I could steal all that gold. Tonight, I'll astral project in there and look, and then I'll know. As far as we know, no one can do that. So,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I think that it would be a good place to talk about the modern day movement of out-of-body experiences and astral projection. So that,
which is it's pretty, it's more scientifically inclined. They want the knowledge of it rather more than just to prove that they're right.
Well,
kind of thing.
I don't know. I had a different opinion of that.
Well, there are multiple different kind of organizations doing it.
Okay, so the main father of modern astral projection, it can be traced back to a guy named Robert Allen Monroe, who was born in 1915, and he died in 1995. He was an American radio broadcasting executive, and he liked to do research into altered consciousness. And so he founded an organization, I guess is what you'd call it, the Monroe Institute, and wrote a book in 1971 called Journeys Out of the Body, which is where the out-of-body experience term came from. Now, he was assisted by specialists in psychology, medicine, biochemistry, psychiatry, electrical engineering, physics, and education, but he patented that stuff so he could make money off of it. He patented the results of that research. So we have somebody who's an executive in a broadcasting organization, which is very different from someone who's an executive in a cereal company. That their whole goal is to broadcast information. Their whole goal is to get money for the broadcasting of information. And then he patented it to make money off of it.
I wonder what he patented.
He made
like
some kind
method?
of some method technology. In 1953, he formed another organization called RAM, and that produced network radio programs. He had as many as 28 programs every month going.
Wow.
That he was producing. And they were mainly dramatic and quiz shows. So are you getting an impression of this dude? In 1956, his firm created another organization called Research and Development Division to study the effects of various sound patterns on human consciousness, including the sleep state. He was especially attracted to the concept of sleep learning, which is, I've read a lot about that in the past. I actually tried it with not a great deal of success, but I think that people have had success with that. That's actually something we could do a show on. So he was doing all of these things as commercial activities. They were purely for making money. It was while he was experimenting with sleep learning in 1958, he experienced an unusual thing. He described sensations of paralysis and vibration accompanied by a bright light, that appeared to be shining on him from a shallow angle. And he went on to say that occurred 9 more times over the next 6 weeks. And then he had an out-of-body experience.
Mm-hmm.
What he is describing here is sleep paralysis. That is sleep paralysis. You're paralyzed. People who have sleep paralysis often feel strange sensations like vibrations or shaking. They frequently hear things or see things like bright lights.
Well, I should say, all of that stuff is hypnagogic hallucination.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to take the interpretation it's lucid dreaming, those are all hypnagogic hallucinations, which just is basically descriptions say hallucinations just before falling asleep.
Yeah.
Or right past the point of falling asleep, whatever. It's kind of a gray area. And they're super common. The vibration thing, that's very common. Lights, common. The feeling of looking at a scene or feeling of a scene. So like the bright light shining in through the window.
So the fact that he experienced that is not unusual in any way, shape, or form. Okay.
What probably was unusual about him was that he wrote about it and told people about it.
Yes, because then he discovered that not-for-profit organizations doesn't mean that he didn't get to take a salary.
Yeah.
So he created a not-for-profit organization, which was for education and research, called the Monroe Institute, otherwise known as TMI, Too Much Information. And more than 20,000 people have paid to go through his program.
Yeah, the thing that, like, programs, they will teach you something, are absolutely rife with people. It's like more or less a scam. You don't really get much out of it.
So all of these tens of thousands of people who have experienced it, they just think it's absolutely wonderful. And if you have done any kind of lucid dreaming, it is absolutely wonderful. It's really cool.
Say, like, if they didn't lucid dream, whatever, astral project before that, and then they did after that, it was successful. And I get the sense that people who do like a rigorous lucid dreaming technique, more than just like, oh, maybe I'll, like count my fingers when I'm asleep or whatever. It's like 20% at least have some experience. So it's like that still is like, okay, it worked.
So now this is where it gets weird. In 1978, the U.S. military sent officers there to learn how to have out-of-body experiences. For clairvoyant purposes? I'm sure it's so that they could.
Remote viewing
so
kind
that
of stuff?
they could, yeah.
Yeah.
In 1983, it sent more officers there.
That's funny, because you'd think they would have gotten results, and the results would have driven...
Yeah. So in 1994...
Which presumably they did not get results.
In 1994, a front-page article in the Wall Street Journal confirmed that the former director of the Intelligence and Security Command of the U.S. Army sent personnel to the Institute. It also said that the opinion of the head of the Zen Buddhist temple in Vancouver, British Columbia, was that, quote, gateway students can reach meditation states in a week that took me 30 years of sitting. Yeah, I could see that. You learn how to reach that place in your brain of...
I should say that's not an exceptionally absurd thing.
Yeah.
Like Buddhists or Zen, whatever monks are going for is not directly related to how long they've been doing it. Just incidentally.
Here's my bread.
Yeah, you're good.
Remind me to put this back on.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm watching the thing just in case there's any anomalous voices. And it didn't go up.
It didn't? Shoot. Okay, another reporter for The Hook, a weekly newspaper for Charlottesville, Virginia, also visited the Monroe Institute and said, quote, with a few exceptions, the only normal people with whom I could fully identify with were the trainers, who seemed remarkably well-grounded for people whose day-to-day experience includes astral projection and disembodied spirits. So in other words, he's implying that, or they are implying, I don't know if it's man or woman,
nuts,
that all those people that are paying money to go there are just not normal.
Yeah.
The reporter also concluded that there's something significant being developed at the Institute, whether it's just a brilliant guided meditation complete with trance-inducing stereoscopic sound or a doorway to a world of spirit entities, I cannot say. Okay, I think it must be very clear how I feel about this Monroe guy. Because I just think he sounds like a shyster.
Yeah, I remember reading this book a long time ago when I was much younger, and to me, like, before, like, looking at books like his, I was thinking, wow, this is really interesting, maybe there's something there. And then it's like, this seems too much,
Mm-hmm.
It's like describing the different, like, levels of the astral realm and shit, and I'm like, that seems like a dream,
Yeah, and you need his device to listen to the music that helps enhance the whole experience. So this is what I think. I think that you could really probably enhance your life, even if it's just through a hypnagogic state experience, a dream. You might get some insight into something through doing that. You might reach some ability to do something psychic or clairvoyant in doing it, but I don't believe you are able to release your spirit from your body and send it out to roam the earth. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that.
Why? So at what point do you say, no, this is too far?
Well,
and why? Because I should say, your experiences with, like, stuff, whatever, like clairvoyant stuff or whatever, are convincing to you. The people who have done significant astral projecting, quote unquote, it's really significant for them. And it's very convincing for them.
If it's possible, it would be able to happen spontaneously, and it would be significantly different from the people who are saying they're having lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming, yeah.
And
that is one thing. I honestly don't even know how you could reasonably distinguish between the two, other than, like, maybe you astral project while you're awake.
Well, because they totally believe that they've gone somewhere else. So here's the thing that I come back to in my head. Person dies. When they die, and this is, of course, subject to interpretation and opinion, but when they die, there is a release from their consciousness and their physical body. We know that a lot of consciousness is actually part of your physical body. So whatever that is something else. But if that something else leaves before your body is dead, you are a vegetable. And there's...
Oh, you're saying, like, so if they, like, astral projected, and then while they're astral projecting, their body is trying to function, and it's totally, completely screwed up.
It's a vegetable.
So interesting you bring that up. A supposed common thing in astral projection is a silver cord that leads from the back of your head or your abdomen or something, I don't know, back to your body. Now, I remember way back when seeing a lot of stories and people would talk about it. And I should say, the cord is related to what you were saying because it prevents you from your astral spirit, whatever, from getting away from your body. So you're always connected, supposedly. But I want to know now, what's the prevalence in people who have never heard of the silver cord, and what's the prevalence with people who, before they saw it in a astral projection, they knew about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's what the problem is,
that
that
chance that their brain spontaneously produced that because they already knew about it.
The problem is that, just like that reporter said, the people that have been to that institute, he didn't meet anybody who was normal except for the instructors. That means that these people are probably very gullible, or they've already made up their mind to believe in certain things. And once you do that, then you are gullible because you can be easily manipulated.
Isn't it so interesting? Like, if you believe something, you believe X thing, and that makes you inflexible to other experiences, how is that a useful thing? Like, for instance, if you know Glarnak, the god of tentacles or whatever,
Okay.
is your one true god, and worshiping that god makes it so you deny the existence of cars or whatever, then it's gonna make your life way worse, and there's going to be a lot of troubles for you navigating life because you so inflexibly can't recognize what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like people who, like, they believe in astral projection, and then, oh, there's a cool study over here. Look, when people, quote unquote, astral project, they can communicate via eye movement to sleep researchers through, rapid eye movement during dreams. That's awesome. And you have to recognize that it's a dream in order to participate in the study or participate in that line of thought or whatever. And yet, if you believe it's something other than just normal predicted brain activity, then you're going to have, it's going to be much more difficult for you. You know what I mean?
So here's what
it's an interesting subject.
I would challenge anyone who believes that they can astral project to come up with tests of their own devising to determine whether or not they're astral projecting or they're simply lucid dreaming.
And I should say, it probably is actually pretty easy. You go to somebody, you ask them to write down 20 random numbers and put it somewhere where you can't see it. And if you're an honest person, you won't look beforehand. And then you just astral project, look at the numbers. You just remember.
Except that if it's a psychic thing, you could be reading their mind.
I honestly, it doesn't even matter. If they're doing that kind of thing, they've already confirmed something cool. And so,
that's true.
So that's good,
Agreed. Okay. Tell me your experience.
Well, so like when I was much younger, like 10 to 14 years old or whatever, I don't know what sparked it, but I was interested in astral projection in quote marks and lucid dreaming and all that kind of stuff. And so tried like every technique under the sun. There's a lot of techniques, and the at a meta level, it was popularized to use acronyms, like 4-letter acronyms for the technique names.
Okay.
So like one of them, for instance, is called WILD, W-I-L-D, which is wake-induced lucid dreaming. That's kind of like what Robert Monroe, how he did it and how he taught it. As far as I know, that's how he taught it. Which is you are awake. Better if you wake up after 5 hours of sleeping. Wake up, you lay down, and you just probably in a slightly unusual body position than you not just like on your side if you're a side sleeper. And then you just like try to maintain awareness through falling asleep, and then and you'll be like, the typical things you experience are hypnagogic hallucinations. So your body will feel like it's shaking or vibrating. You'll see flashes of light. I see like lobes of slightly less dark
I saw
color,
some of those
and then they kind of go inward. When, in the few times I've actually had lucid dreams, it's interesting because it's sudden. It like in the very front of my vision in phobia area, it's like it burns like a paper over a candle. It burns from the center out, like a very bright edge burning, and there's like a full scene. And I have to say, every explanation does not do it justice. 100%. You can't describe a lucid dream as they become aware that they're dreaming. It's like saying Earth is a rock. It's a ball in space. Like, that's not doing it justice. It's, as far as, like, there are degrees of awareness and lucidity, whatever, while dreaming, but it feels exactly like you're awake. I mean, like, exactly. You can't tell.
And yet you're somewhere else.
Yeah, you're fully conscious, fully aware, whatever. You're in a dream, and it's like no shit.
Okay, so
you're really in
when
the
you
dream.
had that experience or those experiences, did you believe you were traveling? Did you believe you were doing astral projection, or did you?
I don't know. Actually, I can't say I believed anything. It was just more like, whoa, here it is. Here's the lucid dream, whatever. And then it would be like my memory is fuzzy because it's been a long time since I last did it. But it's just like a dream. I mean, it's as if like, okay, you took whatever your last dream was. What was my last dream? I know a few nights ago, I was like a I don't even know, ninja warrior, like killing robots or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's one of those running dreams, where you're running.
I hate those, yeah.
You hate running dreams?
I hate them.
What? Running dreams are the best. You so effortlessly just fly.
No, in my running dreams, it's like running through.
Oh, you're trying to run and you can't.
Lava, and you just like,
It's like the sleep paralysis thing. You're sluggish and you're.
Yeah.
But anyway, imagine whatever dream you want to think and just actually experiencing it. That's a lucid dream.
But what differentiates that from astral projection? So if somebody said
your
preconceived notions. Okay, so have you had any other experiences that you would say were astral projections?
I can actually imagine what it would be like, but I haven't experienced anything like that. I mean, I can recognize. Okay, imagine you're hallucinating. Imagine this. Imagine you're schizophrenic.
Must I?
Right? No, look, seriously. Imagine you see a scary monster and you are schizophrenic. It's been confirmed. You see a scary monster wiggling or whatever they do.
So you wouldn't know you would believe it was real.
Yeah, you believe it's real. And you're scared, right?
Yeah.
That's how it would be like. I mean, that's how I imagine it would be like. Not like fear or whatever, but it's like, wow, this is a significant part of reality. And that's the feeling you have. And that's why it's astral projection. Or that's why you think it's astral projection. But so going back to my experience, I could never consciously induce lucid dreaming. But I did experience the vibration thing. That's real. I mean, I say real as in like, you really do. It feels like not pins and needles, but like for me, it's way different for everyone. But it's like... how to describe it? It's like if you've ever had your hand on something that's vibrating and then taken your hand off and it's just still kind of a residual, and it's kind of a numb feeling, especially the numb feeling, because after the vibration for me, and it feels like actual vibration, like if you, like that, if you put your hand on something, your hand is vibrating. It's not like, the vibrations of the universe, like flowy kind of stuff. That's how the best to describe the sensation is. It's shaking or vibrating. High frequency vibrations, like vibrations. Then my proprioception would go. So that's like, it would feel like my hand is, I think it's usually like a inward turning of fingers, and then it's like hand floating.
That's wild.
Interestingly, Monroe says, or the techniques he developed, and then a lot of people supposedly use, is it's funny, once you are at that point, once you have completely lost proprioception, you try to somehow move your arms and legs and stuff without moving. And one technique is actually you rotate, because you lose body sensory orientation, whatever. You don't know really which way your body's pointing. And so you rotate, you spin. And so then you just spin yourself out of your, quote unquote, out of your body. And usually that means a false awakening. False awakening, we haven't even talked on this. False awakening is you get up, you're doing stuff, but that's just a lucid dream. Just like if you've had a dream where you start going about your day, false awakening is a lucid dream where you start going about your day, or you go use the bathroom or whatever, but you are lucid dreaming. So it's everything like normal, So it looks not like a dream. It looks like you're in reality, but then it's not. You're dreaming. So that could obviously make people feel like, oh, this is more than just a dream. It might be astral projection. Yeah. Now, recently, this is a different experimentation on my part, but it's without any intention of inducing lucid dreams, because they can fuck up your sleep. I have to say, trying to do lucid dreams can really mess your sleep patterns up. You wake up in the middle of the night. You're not someone who just falls asleep easily. You can't stay awake for 5 minutes, so you can then do like some quasi meditation in the middle of the night. You just can't. You'll get insomnia. And the transition is crazy. I didn't say before, but another thing that happens when I, transition to a lucid dream is like an air raid siren blasting in my ears. It's really jarring.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, what's it called? Aphantasia. Aphantasia. Some people can't
imagine things in their mind's eye.
This is, and the question of like, oh, well, you have your mind's eye. It's not exactly like seeing, but lucid dreaming is seriously like seeing. I mean, like the burn up thing, that like, it's the same mechanism that you're seeing with somehow. Anyway, nowadays, I try to induce the visual part of hypnagogic hallucinations because it's interesting. And that also is very much like real seeing. You can really, it's not like mind's eye stuff. You have a vision of something, or you hear something or whatever. Or at least you very convincingly think you do.
Yeah. Well, my only experience with it is I was a little kid. I was in the backseat of my dad's car. We're driving to California, and it's hot, and there's desert. And this is before we had a car. We did not have air conditioning in that car, so I don't even know if air conditioning was around then. It probably was, but we were not well-to-do. And I was staring blankly out at the desert. And you know how it kind of, when it's hot, and you can't really have the window down in summertime in the desert because it will suck all the moisture out of your body. And I remember that I was thinking about how there's no way to even tell how much time is passing because it could be forever, it could be just a moment because everything is the same. So I'm having these kind of strange thoughts for a child when I became aware that I was looking out from a place like in the center of my body. That I could sense my head above me and my arms up above, and I thought it was really weird. And so I told my dad about it, and my dad was even more into weird stuff than I am. And he belonged to that secret society where they did weird stuff. I don't know. I never was able to figure out what it was.
Oh, okay.
So he told me it was astral projection.
Makes sense.
And that I should...
that's what he believed.
Yeah,
so,
and he said I should practice it. So here I am, a little kid. And when I say I'm a little kid, I'm like 8 or 10 years old. I am a little kid sitting in the back seat of this car on this horrendous drive that probably took 6 hours to go to California through the desert. And I got so that I could, and who knows whether I was in some kind of sleep state. I don't know. But I got so that I could be in that corner and see everything in the car from that perspective, and that I could be maybe up there and see everything. And I think it was more like being able to see things in your mind's eye, because obviously I'm completely familiar with what the inside of the car is like. So anyway, that was my only experience. Was never been able to do it again, although I tried to do it again later in my teenage years when I was exploring different things, and never was able to do it again, and really didn't see a value in being able to do it again because I didn't learn anything new from it. I didn't learn anything that could help somebody or even myself with it. It just seemed like a private parlor trick, and it didn't really have much meaning,
Yeah.
So
well, I get this. I mean, if you can consistently do those sorts of things, probably the most you'd get out of it is entertainment.
Yeah. And
which
it's
is
probably,
cool, but still.
more than anything else, it was probably self-hypnosis.
Yeah.
You know, the monotony, the heat, you know, all of it. And in those days, there wasn't like you had a radio station available all the time. And there certainly was no other way to listen to anything. So it was probably mainly quiet in the car, except for perhaps my dad occasionally singing. But I'm sure it was a very strange, boring, long trip. And we probably left early in the morning, so I probably was tired. So let's talk about how to do it. Now, I found a website that is... I wrote it down. I know I did.
Actually, it was surprisingly hard for me to find. Like, way back when, I could find the website. You just do a web search, and you could find the first page of results, all different websites of cool stuff like that. Nowadays,
it's all monetized.
It was just crazy.
They want you to pay for a class or whatever.
And those websites still exist. You just can't find them.
So this one is called aurahealth.io, and I'll put the link in the description. And it tells pretty simple step-by-step how to do it. And I'm just going to read the bullet points. I'm not going to go into the details about it. So the very first thing, it says to create a tranquil space. The kind of a space where you would sleep. They also suggested candles or dim lighting.
I wonder why.
And aromas like chamomile or lavender can help you relax. So you're making a cozy little relaxing place where you could
potentially fall asleep. You're so relaxed.
And then you're supposed to be in that deep state of relaxation. So you should use some relaxation techniques.
So you get really relaxed.
Like meditation, deep breathing, gradual muscle relaxation. And those are also things that you use to help you fall asleep. They say sometimes concentrating on a certain thing or concept while deep breathing, slowly inhaling and exhaling can help you focus your intentions. It can also make you fall asleep. You should identify your goal, because when you do a spiritual activity, you should decide on an objective. Now, this I agree with. If you don't have an objective other than your cheap parlor trick that you're doing for your own personal amusement, that just, it's just weird. So you should have an objective.
What would the objective be?
Well, if it is just to have a cheap parlor trick for your own entertainment, then you should say to yourself, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah,
you shouldn't say, I'm going to find out the secrets of the universe. Because if it was possible for someone to do it and find out the secrets of the universe, they've been found out, they've been shared, and no one believed them. So don't worry about that.
Or they're already out there.
Yeah. You probably should have a precise objective. Most people just have a general thing to explore the universe. But you should have a more specific objective.
Yeah.
And a clear purpose, because that will help you.
So like for lucid dreaming techniques, having an intention is probably like 90% of the way.
Yeah. So you've picked your calm and comfortable spot. You've relaxed your mind and body. You've done some deep breathing exercises. Now close your eyes and imagine floating on a soft cloud.
Did they say how you're supposed to be? Because if you lay down, you'll fall asleep. That's the implication. Even if you're trying to astral project, you might fall asleep, But if you sit up, that's associated with lucid dreaming, especially because you're in a position that you wouldn't ordinarily sleep in.
Well, it may have said something about that, but quite honestly, there was so much more to it than this, and it was all just repeating the same thoughts.
Yeah.
And so I didn't read all the words because the words were repetitive and boring to me.
Yeah. Did it say stuff like you're going to meet your astral guide?
No, I don't think so. And so now you're laying there in your comfortable space. You've deep breathed. You've done all the things that you ordinarily would do to go to sleep. And now you're imagining floating on a cloud.
You're literally doing everything to fall asleep.
Welcome the hypnagogic state. Yes, welcome it, because it's a dream. The hypnagogic state
really important that if you're trying to lucid dream, you have to be cool with what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do like other techniques like DILD, dream induced lucid dreaming, where you come to in a dream, you attain lucidity while you're already dreaming. That's very smooth. It's not like hitting you overhead with a sledgehammer.
Well, anytime that I've had anything that I could remotely recognize as being a dream where I was aware that I was dreaming, that's exactly what happened. In the middle of a dream, I realized, oh, I'm dreaming. This is a dream. And then I can control what's going on.
Yeah.
I have never had what you've experienced because that sounds really awful.
The wake, continuous awareness while you're going.
Yeah, with burning things and loud noises.
Can be crazy. So anyway, you have to know it's all, you're safe,
Yeah.
You're
You're
not
safe.
dying, you're not.
Now
Actually, if you believe in astral projection, you have this tiny little silver cord and demons can just chew through that fucking thing.
You're supposed to welcome.
You might not be okay.
You're supposed to welcome the hypnagogic state. And it says it's like standing on the edge of your dreams. And I would say that's probably really true for hypnagogic state.
It's cool.
Now it says to visualize that shimmering cord connecting your consciousness to your body.
Yeah.
And you can at that point, you can enter the astral plane. Open your eyes.
They just say it's like that easy?
Yeah.
Because it's not that easy.
Enter the astral plane and open your eyes and picture the vibrant landscapes and boundless beauty. Picture them because they're not really there. It's a product of your mind.
That actually is an important point. Some people believe stupid things. They believe that they've done X thing without actually having, like, for instance, say telepathy is a thing, a real thing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
I think it is.
And you walk up to and read someone's mind and you think, yeah, this is what they said and that, but you're not actually doing any telepathy. Telepathy is true. You're not doing it, but you believe you do it. There's still going to be people who believe that they're doing something when, even if it's real, when they're so like that, you're imagining you're flying through some like ethereal plane and cool stuff is happening, but you're still just imagining it.
But the interesting thing, because you keep flip-flopping and calling it lucid dreaming, and because what they're describing here is lucid dreaming. And I don't know why they have to say the thing about the shimmering cord, because
they believe it's astral projection.
Yeah.
They believe they're going someplace specifically.
Then it says overcome your fear and anxiety, because remember, you're in control. And you should always be practicing meditation techniques, relaxation techniques, deep breathing, and yoga to calm your mind and prepare for doing it. Because what they're telling you is you're going to go into the hypnagogic state, and it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. But
it is weird.
But they imply that you're going somewhere else, and you're not going somewhere else.
So,
except in your mind, which may be a valuable place to go.
Yeah, exactly. You could actually also get insight from your mind. Could it be actually useful beyond just entertainment?
Right.
I should say the classic technique is, for astral projection, is lay down on your back, arms at your side, do like a body scan, so you focus on relaxing each segment of your body, feet, ankles, calves, up, and focusing on eyes, mouth, jaw, shoulders, especially when you notice vibration, you have the intention of letting the vibration come, and it gradually expands. So you feel weird kind of tingling or vibration over your limbs, usually starting in extremities, feet up, fingers up. When it gets to your head, that's really good. Usually for me, that would be like complete loss of proprioception. Then you start feeling like you're floating or whatever, and you do something, I can't really remember, with your, like you curl your fingers or something, but not really, once you've achieved paralysis, because your body goes through paralysis every night, if you've gone past that point with awareness, then you could curl your fingers and move around and whatever. You're in dream state already. But the idea is you pull yourself out, essentially. One technique is you have like a rope attached to your solar plexus or something, and it's like you pull it or something, and you rip yourself out of your body. Or you imagine yourself floating up, kind of really laying into the proprioception loss thing, and you find you're on the ceiling. Or one is you roll out of bed. One, Monroe's thing was you touch something and that indicate like you do something ridiculous, like he put his fingers through the floor or something. So it's like this movement-based thing. But the really important thing is all of that is it will be really weird. Like you're having sleep hallucinations while you're conscious. That's not supposed to happen. Your brain is not supposed to let you observe that.
Wow.
So, like you'll feel like you're floating 100%. You probably are going to feel like you're floating. And then you really lay into that and amplify it somehow.
Okay.
And then it just amplifies from there.
I have a way people could prove that they have they've had an out-of-body experience and astrally projected. Go and see somebody.
And see what they're doing?
No, just go see them and let them see you. Can't you be seen if you're astrally projecting?
I know that they think there are different like levels or different domains in the astral realms or whatever. So there's one that looks just like this, and then there's one that's like where you typically dream. And then I think a lot of people assume there's like a perfect idealist universe.
So what's the difference between astral projection and lucid dreaming then? There is no difference.
If you ask me, I'm going to tell you there's no difference. But if you ask them, there will be, depending on who you ask, differences.
Okay, I am not going to try this. I'm not going to try this.
I don't recommend you. I mean, anyone with sleep problems, they're going to have a rough time.
I'm not going to try it. But if anyone out there tries it or does it, successfully does it, give me some information because I just am having a hard time believing this is true.
I should say, this practice really, really benefits from it being habitual and you getting really comfortable with it. So you have to do it for a while.
Okay, well, tell us in the comments below what you think.
Or have experienced.
Our contact information is in the show notes. You can email us, text us, or even call and leave a 3-minute voicemail. And as always, if you have a story you want to tell, send it to us. Please share, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and never be so terrified you can't wake up.